President Trump buys a Tesla in support of Elon's baby. Donald Trump has bought a Tesla in support of the car company he calls Elon's baby. The White House driveway briefly became a pop-up showroom with various models on display. "Will I get in?" he asked the waiting media, before declaring the red Model S beautiful. Tesla's stock has lost half its value in 3 months, its share price tanking to an all-time low this week. The president had urged Americans to buy Tesla in solidarity with Elon Musk, a great American. Federal workers sacked by his Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, were not impressed by the president's purchase. "I will never buy a Tesla," Dr. Peter Current told me. A former employee at USAID Global Health, Dr. Current said cuts made in recent weeks would cost lives. Amy, who worked in the environmental agency, told me she became unaccountably angry every time a Tesla passed by but expressed it internally. The Tesla brand has become the focal point for protest over Musk's role in cutting government spending. What began with bumper stickers declaring "I bought this" before Elon went crazy has descended into violence on forecourts at charging stations. But with the President of the United States now acting as a salesman, there's still a steady flow of customers. At one dealership in Virginia, a woman told me she'd recently been in an accident and safety was her priority. "I'm a federal employee myself but need to separate the fact that as a vehicle, the car just makes sense," she said. There is much debate about who is in the driving seat, the US president or CEO of Tesla. But for now at least, the relationship between them seems as invincible as a Cybertruck. Elon Musk blames IP addresses in Ukraine after X hit by cyber attack. X has been hit by a massive cyber attack, according to Elon Musk. The boss of the social media platform said the attack was carried out with a lot of resources. Mr. Musk claimed that either a large coordinated group or a country was involved, or both. He wrote on the platform, "There was still is a massive cyber attack against X. We get attacked every day, but this was done with a lot of resources. Either a large, coordinated group and/or a country is involved." Later on Monday, Mr. Musk claimed on Fox News that IP addresses involved in the cyber attack were traced to locations in the Ukraine area. The US government has recently revoked some access to satellite imagery for Ukraine and paused intelligence sharing, piling pressure on Kyiv as President Trump seeks a swift end to the war with Russia. In a now-deleted post on Telegram, a hacking group called Dark Storm Team claimed responsibility for the attack. Around 40,000 users reported they could not access the platform on Monday, according to data from tracking website downdetector.com. Complaints about outages spiked at around 10 a.m. in the UK, and again at 2 p.m. A source in the internet infrastructure industry told the Reuters news agency that the platform had been hit by several waves of denial of service (DOS) attacks at around 9:45 a.m. According to the National Cybersecurity Center, DOS attacks are attempts to overload a website or network aiming to degrade its performance or make it completely inaccessible. Such attacks are not necessarily sophisticated, but they can cause significant disruption. British YouTuber and rapper Young Philly denies sexual assault charges in Australia. British YouTuber and rapper Young Philly has pleaded not guilty to multiple sexual assault charges in Australia. The internet personality, whose real name is Andres Felipe Valencia Barrientos, appeared before Perth Magistrates Court on Tuesday. According to court documents, he pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of assault occasioning bodily harm, 1 of strangulation and 4 counts of sexual penetration without consent. He will appear before the Higher District Court on June 13. The 29-year-old has been on bail since October last year after he allegedly sexually assaulted a woman in her 20s in his hotel room, following a performance at a venue in a Perth suburb. The attack is alleged to have taken place on September 28, when Barrientos was on tour. During a court hearing in October, Barrientos was granted bail with strict conditions and a personal undertaking of $100,000 alongside a surety of the same amount. Barrientos rose to fame as a social media personality and rapper and has appeared on several BBC shows. He is known for working with Beta Squad, a YouTube collective. He has also featured on Soccer Aid and The Great Celebrity Bake Off for Stand Up to Cancer on Channel 4. $130 million cocaine smugglers guilty of fishing boat plot. A pair who tried to smuggle $130 million of cocaine on a fishing boat have been found guilty. The two men from Swansea, 46-year-old John Williams, of St. Thomas, and 31-year-old Patrick Godfrey, of Port Tennant, were convicted after trial at Truro Crown Court on Wednesday. Two further men, 45-year-old Michael Kelly, of Portway in Manchester, and 27-year-old Jake Marchant, of No Fixed Abode, pleaded guilty before trial. The four men will be sentenced on May 8. The members of the crime group were found with more than a ton of the Class A drug on their boat, the Lily Lola, off the coast of Cornwall. When the boat was intercepted by Border Force officers shortly after 2 p.m. on September 13, Williams was the boat's captain, Marchant was next to him, Kelly in the accommodation area, and Godfrey was asleep in a deck chair. The Lily Lola, which Williams had purchased for around $181,000 2 months earlier, was taken into Plymouth Royal Dockyard where the substances were seized, with tests showing they were high-purity cocaine. Internet history on Godfrey's phone showed a search for how long does it take a ship to leave Peru to UK. A tracker was found in the drugs haul and the National Crime Agency, NCA, investigation established it was linked to a user in South America. When interviewed, Williams, Godfrey and Marchant all made no comment, while Kelly claimed he was on a fishing trip. NCA Branch Commander Derek Evans said the NCA and Border Force had prevented a huge haul of cocaine from hitting the streets of the UK and wider Europe. The NCA is working around the clock with partners here and overseas to erode the criminal networks benefiting from the destructive drugs trade. Zelenskyy warns partners not to let Putin deceive them on ceasefire. Volodymyr Zelenskyy has called on Ukraine's partners to make sure Russia doesn't deceive them over a ceasefire. After breakthrough talks between Ukrainian and U.S. officials in Saudi Arabia, Kyiv said it was ready to accept a proposed 30-day ceasefire with Russia. But his nightly address on Wednesday evening, a day after the Jeddah summit, President Zelenskyy said, "We must move toward peace," but issued a warning to allies. The key factor is our partners' ability to ensure Russia's readiness not to deceive but to genuinely end the war, the Ukrainian leader said. Because right now, Russian strikes have not stopped. The focus has now switched to Vladimir Putin's response to the proposed ceasefire. President Trump said the U.S. had received some positive messages, adding, "We have people going to Russia right now." However, he warned Moscow, in a financial sense, "Yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia, would be devastating for Russia." European defense ministers, meeting in Paris, said now was the time for Moscow to show it was serious about ending the war. UK Defense Secretary John Healey was among those attending and had a direct message for Russia's president. "I say to President Putin, over to you, you want to talk, prove it." For his part, President Putin has been playing to his domestic audience with a visit to Kursk, where Russian troops finally seem to be gaining the upper hand against Ukrainian forces who seized territory in the Russian region last year. Dressed in camouflage, the Russian president called for his forces to defeat the enemy and completely liberate Kursk, in remarks reported by the Interfax news agency. He also said enemy troops captured in the region will be treated as terrorists, as Russia's chief of the general staff told Mr. Putin that Ukrainian forces in the region are surrounded. Man arrested after Turnberry golf resort in Scotland vandalised. A 33-year-old man has been arrested after a golf course in Scotland owned by U.S. President Donald Trump was vandalised. Police were called to the Turnberry course in South Ayrshire at around 4:40 a.m. on Saturday. Officers found red spray paint had been used to deface the 800-acre resort's clubhouse, while the words "Gaza is not for sale" were painted in 3-meter-high letters on its lawn. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, "Inquiries remain ongoing." It is thought the property may have been targeted in response to Mr. Trump's comments last month in which he suggested the U.S. could take over the Gaza Strip and own it, with Palestinians in the territory resettled elsewhere. A Turnberry spokesperson said, "This was a childish, criminal act, but the incredible team at Turnberry will ensure it does not impact business."